Hi everyone, my name is Hannah and I'm a nutrition educator with Cornell Cooperative Extension of Jefferson County. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make a really simple vegetable broth that can be used to liven up any of your dishes. I like to use it to cook my rice in to give it a little bit extra flavor, but you could use it to add to different sauces, pot roast, things like that. It's a very versatile recipe, and the best thing is it's practically free. The way I make it, I just use the ends of produce that I'm not using or anything that I know I won't have time to cook and will go bad. I'll just go ahead and save it for my vegetable stock. So let's go ahead and get started. So to gather up scraps for my veggie broth, I like to just keep a gallon-size Ziploc bag in my freezer, and then when I have pieces like the tops of onions or carrots or some kale, I can just throw them in the bag, and once my bag is full, I can use it to make the veggie broth. It's important to know though that you must use washed produce, so before you put it in the bag, make sure it's free of any dirt or debris. I'm just gonna go ahead and add it to a big stock pot. I'll show you some of the things I have. So the onion, I use all the pieces. If I had some of the skin that I took off a little bit, kale ribs, if you have like celery fronds, things like that. Lots and lots of onions and carrot pieces. Let's go ahead, and then I'll give this bag a rinse and can reuse it for my next batch. See, I also have some pieces of broccoli. You can throw produce in here if you're worried that you're not going to be able to use it before it goes bad, but just make sure that it's not already bad. You need to be using food-safe produce for this. All right, so then I'm going to go ahead and fill it with water. I filled the water about an inch below the rim. We want to make sure that there's enough to cover it up. So I'm going to add some herbs to help add a little more flavor to this. So I have some dried rosemary that I had bought when it was fresh, and then it just kind of dried out. So I'm going to add that in there. I'm going to add 2 bay leaves. You could throw fresh herbs in there as well. I just like using those for other purposes. So I'm going to add 2 bay leaves, and I'm going to sprinkle some black peppercorns in there. And I'm just going to leave them whole. Just a good smattering. And of course we'll strain this so it will get those peppercorns out as well. So now we're going to take this over to the stove and bring it to a boil. You can also see some pieces I put in here are some mushroom stems and some things like that. So we're going to go ahead and bring this up to a boil. I'm going to cover it so it boils quicker. And then we're going to reduce it to a simmer and have it simmer for about 30 minutes to an hour. It's been an hour a little bit over an hour of our veggie stock simmering away. You can see a lot of the colors have leached out of our veggies in there. You can see this looks like a little bit of a darker, kind of more of the color of the veggie stock that we want. I'm gonna go ahead and try a little bit of this. I might decide that it needs some more herbs that I'll mix in there, but other than that, I will go ahead and strain it. Now that my veggie stock has cooled off a little bit, I'm gonna go ahead and strain it so we don't have any of those veggie pieces in our stock. So usually, just because this is pretty heavy, I like to scoop out a little bit first. And so I'm just scooping it into, I have a strainer on top of one of my big bowls. All right, and this is about light enough. I'm gonna go ahead and just pour it in. Can lift up, and you can see my broth filled up this whole bowl pretty much. So then I'm going to let this cool completely, And then once I do, I might pour it into some little plastic containers to put in my freezer, or pour it into a gallon-sized bag to freeze. I like to freeze it in smaller portions though. If you plan a dish where you're going to be using a lot of it, putting it in a gallon-sized bag works. But other than that, I might just freeze it in 1 or 2 cup portions. One trick that I like to do is I will actually, I have 2 measuring cups, so I'll fill both of them. One's at 1 cup, one's at 2 cup. Fill both of them, freeze them, and then I can take out those portions and just store them in another bag. That way I kind of know when a recipe calls for a certain amount, I know how many of those blocks, and I don't have to defrost a whole package. But whatever works for you is fantastic. Go ahead and play around with it. This is a pretty carroty broth. You can see it by how much carrots I put in it, but you can definitely change the taste based on what scraps you put in. So I hope you go ahead and use this to make some of your dishes a little more flavorful.